Us this morning. I'm Reverend Dr. Keith Cox. I'm the spiritual leader here at the Center for Spiritual Living, Los Angeles. And good morning to everyone. Happy you're here. Gustavo, welcome back. He's been on a journey. It's good to have him back. So we are a spiritual community that comes together every Sunday morning. And we come together to practice the philosophy of the science of mind and related metaphysical teachings. We're here to honor you on your path of your journey of your awakening to the power of the power of the divine that resides within you. Today you may hear some terminology that's non-Christian in its philosophy or in its approach, such as the term spiritual mind treatment. We also refer to God here as an impersonal indwelling presence that exists equally across the universe and is often referred to as the one power. We come together every Sunday morning to honor that power that exists equally among all of us. It exists equally among us whether we're conscious of it or not, but we've learned that by being conscious of it and focusing on it and using it with our thoughts, our beliefs, our actions, our reactions, and our interactions in life, we have the ability to impact our life. In other words, one of the things that drew me into this philosophy and teaching is change your thinking, change your life. Very simple approach. So I'm happy that you're all here today. I want you to know that as a community, we welcome all sizes, all colors, all ages, all cultures, all sexes, all beliefs, all religions. In essence, all types of people are welcome here, whether you're with us in person today or watching us online. And hello to those of you that are watching us through the live stream today. We welcome you all. Just as our founding minister used to say, welcome one and welcome all. So welcome on this great spring morning, Sunday, April 15th, 2018. Are we all happy that this official day isn't tax day? You have 2 more to pay the government, right? Or celebrate not paying them and getting a refund. Does that happen for anymore? Anyway, with that said, they do. No, with that said, let's continue. We open our service every Sunday morning, other than saying hello to you, with a ritual. The purpose of that ritual is that we can just anchor ourselves into the light of life that exists within us. Our practitioner, which is someone who's trained to work on you, assisting you in training your mind to be at its most effective in your life, takes us through that ritual. It's also has a musical component to it. So they'll be singing to you, and you have an opportunity to do a call and response afterwards, and then a spiritual mind treatment will transpire at the end of that. I'd like to welcome our practitioner to the Bema to join our musicians, Jody Carter, and our illuminator today is the calmest, quietest congregant we have, Sherry Bazanis. I welcome them all. So.
Please join me. Calling in the light, calling in the light, calling in the light, oh love, calling in the light, calling in the light, calling in the light of love.
Good morning. Today, we perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which does acknowledge that all peoples and all faiths, all sentient beings, come from the one great universal presence, which we call Spirit. We may call God whatever language we use. It is the wholeness of the infinite presence. Fundamental to this truth is the unifying nature of all religious thought and all religious experience, which we honor here today. The first candle, which Sherry will light, is lit for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. The second candle is illuminated for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. We light the third candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, of action, and devotion. The fourth candle is lit for Judaism. We can look about at some of the wonderful paths of spirit behind the Judaism. Excuse me. Behind the principles of Judaism. And this honors the ethical path of living by sacred law. The fifth candle we light for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. The sixth candle is lit for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness, also known as the path of love. We light the seventh candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. We light the eighth candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light the ninth candle for all forms of New Thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. And as Sherry lights the 10th candle, the healing candle, we ask that each of you, wherever you are, take a moment to think of anyone you would like to silently put into the light of the healing flame to experience the eternal and everlasting love of the divine. Let us each do that.
Please repeat after me. I am love. I am peace.
I am peace
In my heart.
in my heart.
I am free.
I am free.
I am spirit.
I am spirit.
I am soul.
I am soul.
All together
All together
we are all. Calling in the light. Calling in the light. Calling in the light. Oh, love. Calling in the light. Calling in the light. Calling in the light of love. Calling in the light of love. And so it is, and so it is, and so it is.
we all know together that in all of the awareness of the traditions of religion around the world, including our own, and including that of everyone with whom we may or may not disagree as we go through life, but we know together that we are one. We are one. We are one with the spirit of wholeness, the spirit of truth, of love, and of all the universal spiritual principles of understanding, of standing together in wholeness and love. And for all groups that seek to practice the ongoing principles of peace, of understanding, and of spiritual principles in our lives, to expand throughout the world, to bring peace, wholeness, and wonderful, wonderful exploration of truth, the glorious word of truth. We seek to know more deeply in our own lives the truth of who and what we are now and always as individualizations of the whole. And we know together that it is so as we say together, and so it is.
Yeah. Thank you, Jody. And thank you, musicians, and thank you, Sherry, and thank you all. All right, so are you guys ready for some more beautiful music? Good. You ready?
I guess.
I guess you answered with your keys,
I
with
jumped
your
the
ebony
gun.
and ivory. You decided to not use your words, huh, Doug? All right, Doug Rapetti, his ebony and ivory, his keys, Andy, and your own.
Sing, sing a song, sing out loud, sing out strong. Sing of good things, not bad. Sing of happy, not sad. Sing a song. Make it simple to last your whole life long. Don't worry that it's not good enough for anyone else to hear. Just sing a song. Sing a song. Let the world sing along. Sing of love there could be. Sing for you and for me. Sing a song. Make it simple to last your whole life long. Don't worry that it's not good enough for anyone else to hear. Just sing a song. Repeat after me. La 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 la. Very good. La 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 la. Again. La 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 la. You guys. One more time. La 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 la. Thank you guys.
Yes, Doug Rapetti, Andy Belling, and we were Ron Spiewak on cajon. Fantastic. The Carpenters, right? Karen Carpenter. My first concert ever, the Carpenters. I remember, yes, my first concert ever, the Carpenters. Speaks to generations, doesn't it? Speaks to generations. I'm going to speak a little bit about generations right today. But before I do, I want to take a moment and thank Dr. Sheila for stepping in last Sunday and covering for us, for me, as I was in the back with my foot propped up with some ice on it. As you can tell, I've got my rhythm back, so I'm back. And also a huge thank you to Reverend Karen Frost for stepping in and sharing with us her wisdom for a young woman. Would you guys agree with that? Love her and her wife, Ronnie. So it was so wonderful to have them here, and it was great to sit in the back last week and listen to her message and to both take in the service and participate in it from a different way. I love the fact that Reverend Karen spoke last week on spontaneity in life. I don't know about you all, but I've certainly been looking at life from a new viewpoint in regards to spontaneity since last week. And then the concept of just simply riding the wave of life. Right? Just riding that wave. And I was talking to someone this week about that. It was Rachel. We were out walking our dogs and met in the morning. And Rachel, you said that a wave has a rhythm of 7 counts. Isn't that what you said? That when it goes to peak, it's a count of 7 before it hits the sand. Is that correct? They come in sets of 7. See, I need to get it. So just an interesting concept. So I invite you, as your week unfolds, to start looking at life from riding the wave continually and from living from a place of spontaneity. Quick question for many of you guys. Well, just how about this? How many of you in the room are on social media? Wow, a lot more than I thought. How many of you use it? The numbers diminish. How many are happy that you use it? Right, well, obviously this week we've heard a lot about social media. When I talk about social media, I'm talking about Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest. There are many others. We'll just go with those right now. But what I want to talk about this week is today is the concept, a little bit of social media and how there are feeds on social media. You guys are all familiar with it since so many of you use it. That social media are platforms where there are feeds of information that come at us based on who we've chosen to friend. Would you guys agree with that? Or follow, if we're going to talk about Facebook or Instagram specifically. Now, of course, one typically follows people or communities or groups that reflect your interests, ideas, what your focus on is life. Would you guys agree with that? Mostly, and you've heard us talk about, we'd love for you to go on and like the CSL Facebook page, as well as we would love for you to follow us on Instagram and then share that with your friends to build that following in those communities, those online communities. And we've also heard that we've now moved all of our former Sunday talks and our meditations onto our YouTube channel, and from there we're going to build a social platform so that in addition to having Sunday morning, we're doing online stuff. So it's just the way of the world. It's a long way from Karen Carpenter. Would you agree with that? A long way from that. However, we are in that world, and today I'm not going to talk about the feeds from the perspective of algorithms or Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg or even whatever Catalyst and International it is and all that about people trolling you and taking. I'm not looking at it from that perspective. I'm going to use this morning my particular feed. My feed, both on my social media of Facebook and what comes through there and on Instagram. Now, as I've said, we would love to have you all follow us on both Facebook and Instagram. Who in the room does that? Good. And many of you also, when I promote on Saturday afternoons on Facebook what's taking place here on Sunday, I tag many of you. And so many of this has nothing to do with my talk right now. I'm just giving you instructions. And so many of you oftentimes will click like on that. If you're interested in the concept of like, Google it and learn about it. It's actually, the liking concept is all about them tapping into generating dopamine in your brain. So it creates an addiction. That's a side note. But what I'd love for you to do in regards to when you see that post is then share it on your wall. or share it on your feed or your timeline so that we can broaden that community. But I'm talking about my specific feed this morning. Now, I follow people in groups that are fairly metaphysical based and or spiritual in a way that speaks to me. New Thought communities, CSL communities, a whole different array of things that fall into that category that's in alignment with what we follow and teach. There's many other things I follow as well, but that's what I'm going to talk about today. And over time, as I'm scrolling through my Facebook feed or Instagram feed throughout the day, if I see something that pops up that speaks to me, I will capture it. Now, typically those are memes. Who in the room knows what a meme is? So for those of you that, Liv knows. For those of you that don't know what a meme is a humorous image or a video or a piece of text that is copied and then oftentimes is then put in some format as a photo. It may have a quote in it. It may have some editorial in regards to that into it. And then the goal is to spread that throughout the internet, through social media. Now, when that happens on my feed and I like them, I capture them. I either photograph them with my iPhone, screenshot it, or I will take them and drag them directly into my iPhoto library. You all with me so far? So I capture them for future use at some point. Now, I'm sharing that with you right now because this morning I decided to follow Reverend Karen's idea of spontaneity and following the waves by capturing the most recent photos or memes that I've put onto my iCloud Photos library in the last 2, 3, 4 weeks, and use them as a method to develop my message to you this morning. I've done a little bit of prep with it, but I copied and pasted them in reverse order as to how they showed up in my iPhoto library to use as an opportunity to remind both you and I that that which shows up in our everyday life we can use as a conscious spiritual practice to look at it from the perspective of that which we teach in this philosophy, ultimately looking at it and choosing whether it works for us or not in a way to then engage us to live from our vision statement here at CSLLA of finding our personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening. In other words, what I would like to engage us and invite us and encourage us to do today is to take a look at what is in front of us in life always, as a reflection of what we each need to look at to have the awakening in life that we talk about in our vision statement, or growth in life, which then ultimately facilitates healing, which then ends up with us being spiritually awake. Now, would you guys all agree that that is the philosophy? I mean, that is the objective for all of us here, to become more and more and more spiritually awake in life. And in so doing, we then have the opportunity to be personally self-empowered. And then as we become more personally self-empowered, we then look at that which shows up in life, our developing consciousness, in a way of being more spiritually awake. And then the more spiritually awake we are, we then now become more personally self-empowered. It looks like it's an activity that goes like this, but it actually isn't. It's one that's spiraling upward into a higher vibrational frequency at all times. And because we live in a world that is governed by spiritual law, we attract back into our experience of life that it was a reflection of the higher vibration that we're living from as we stay engaged. Which leads us then to the first meme. Now, I wish I had the visuals to show you, but we don't, because it's too much to take this big screen down and all that, but we don't. So you're going to just trust that you can create a visual, because there's always a visual that goes with a meme when it comes. You ready for the first one? Yeah. You don't have a soul. You are a soul, for you have a body. Now think about that for a second. You don't have a soul, you are a soul. You have a body. Now that's somewhat reverse to what we oftentimes hear, right? So often we hear that we have a soul. Now what this is telling us is that we don't have a soul. It's also saying you are a soul. What it's really saying is you are the soul, or the soul is you. And the body is the place where your soul resides, but the soul itself exists infinitely at all times. It is that which we all share. It is that oneness from which we all express life. It is the oneness from which we all come from, or came from, if you will, only in terminology so that we can understand that we don't really come from it, we just simply are it. And it is us. And even when death of the human body transpires, the soul doesn't die. Now, that's not a new concept in metaphysics, and certainly not relative to Ernest Holmes and our teaching, but it is one where oftentimes we believe that we have a soul because it's come to reside within us. But this is giving us the opportunity to reframe it, that no, it doesn't come to reside within us. It's everywhere. It just happens to be activated through us, through our body. That's the mechanism by which we express it. Which takes us to the next meme. Ready? Yep. The journey between who you once were and who you are now becoming is where the dance of life really takes place. What it's saying here is that the soul, the container of life. Now, the body is, if you will, the container of where the soul resides when it's expressing itself by you and you and you and you and you and you. But the soul itself really isn't once who you were or once you're becoming. It just simply is. However, we both process and experience, and according to Ernest Holmes, are the soul by mind. In other words, we get to experience and express it through our consciousness. And our consciousness is affected by our thoughts, our beliefs, our actions, our reactions, our interactions in life. And I'm going to readdress that in just a moment. And it's from there we then have the opportunity to step into our conscious evolution if we should desire to do that. And as a result of that, we no longer are that which we were, no longer that which we are becoming. We are just that which is in action of evolving to a higher plane of being, even though the soul itself has not changed. It's just our awareness of what we are has indeed changed. In other words, spiritual awakening, personal self-empowerment, spiritual awakening, personal self-empowerment, spiritual awakening, personal self-empowerment, spiritual awakening, personal self-empowerment. Does that make sense? Good. So then we move to now another term for the soul is light, which moves us to the next meme, which is by our friend Reverend David Alt, who was here recently and one of my soul brothers, and he writes this: as a spiritual sentinel, we are here to guard the light. We're here to keep watch and protect kindness and offer support to those long denied it. We are to remain indefatigable in our pursuit to honor the huddled masses whose lives have been farmed as resource, and to never circumvent our calling to uphold the inalienable right that all are created equal. You can take a deep breath on that one. That's a big statement. Would you agree? But let's break it down, baby brother. He says we are all spiritual sentinels here. We've come here as spiritual. That statement gets me emotional. That we've come here as spiritual sentinels to guard the light. In other words, we've come here to guard that light of life that exists equally among all of us. And as we become aware of that light that exists within us and all, and because we're evolving conscious beings, then we understand that that which affects our brothers and our sisters affects us. And so it's our responsibility, not just socially responsibility, but our spiritual responsibility to keep watch over what's taking place to our brothers and sisters that are spiritual and soulful brothers and sisters that show up in both the form of humanity and other sentient beings. And that we are to remain indefatigable. In other words, we are to remain focused without quitting in our pursuit to honor those whose lives seem to be lived from a perspective of less than ours. As a result of whatever has taken place that's been imposed on them. In other words, what he's calling being farmed as resource and to never circumvent their calling to uphold their inalienable right. In other words, when they're not awakened and alert to knowing that they are one with God and they deserve the allness of life, it's our responsibility to take care of them. To not just guard the light, but to take care of them. And no matter where they are in that life, that process, because we've awakened, is ours to do. Now, that's a very modern approach in metaphysics. That was not taught in the 20th century of metaphysics, but it doesn't mean that it's not true. But that is ours to do, which then moves us to how do we do that? Moves us to the next meme. Are you ready? We always attract into our lives whatever we think about most, believe most strongly, expect on the deepest level, and imagine most vividly, by Shakti Gawain. What we're saying here is we do what the last meme has told us to protect our brothers and sisters and guard the light, that we are then developing into a higher frame of consciousness. And then we attract into our lives whatever we're thinking about most, believe most strongly, and expect on the deepest level. So if we go through life thinking it's not our responsibility to guard the light, then we are attracting into our world experiences that are a reflection of us not guarding the light, and many other things. But what we're being told there is that as we evolve into a higher frame, we're still attracting into our lives, or at a lower frame, if you will, lower vibration, that which we think about most, believe most strongly, and expect on the deepest level, and imagine most vividly. Which makes me think of the John Lennon song of Imagine. Right? And what he's telling us there is that it's not just enough to think that peace will exist. We now know it's not just enough to engage in how peace will exist on this planet, but we must imagine it. Why must we imagine it? Because our imagination is one of the greatest gifts that we've been given as human beings, as divine beings with that is the soul that lives in the body. It's through our imagination, by seeing it first prior to experiencing it, that we then get to bring it forth into form in our lives. In other words, manifest that in our lives. And because we are all connected, interconnected, if you will, at the level of mind, that as we vividly imagine peace together, it all happens at the level of the one mind through our individual minds, and that must make a difference. Does that make sense? So in other words, we're responsible not just to ourselves, but to each other, not only through action, but how we see the world, how we imagine the world itself, which then leads us to the next meme by Marianne Williamson. The more room you give yourself to express your true thoughts and feelings, the more room there is for your wisdom to emerge. What she's telling us there is, how do we give room to ourselves? In other words, we need to give room in our mind to express ourselves to our truth. Now, there's both spiritual truth and our individual truth. Remember, you've heard me talk about Ernest Holmes' quote that's my favorite of all times, which is, "Spirit has placed the stamp of individuality upon itself and called it you." So what we're being told here in this evolution that we're all experiencing individually and collectively is that, yes, as we honor the oneness of life, it's equally as important to honor our individuality. It's not one or the other, it's both. As Dr. Maureen Hoyt says, we live in this philosophy in a world of and. As we focus on the evolution of humanity, the oneness of humanity, it's equally as important that we focus on our individuality. It's through that process of honoring our individuality, we bring a higher vibrational frequency of ourselves to the mindset that we approach the oneness of the continuity and the interconnectedness. That's a big idea upon itself. Would you guys not agree? But ultimately, what we're looking to do is live our lives from our spiritual truth and our personal truth, and ultimately what takes place as a result of that are spiritually awakened individuals, which leads to spiritually awakened humanity, which leads to both personal self-empowerment and collective self-empowerment. We've seen movements before where when one or more are gathered, as Rumi instructs us to do, there is power. We've seen it in the last year through Black Lives Matter, through the women's movement of Me Too, through the LGBT movement. We've seen it with political causes, whether we believe them or not. As we focus as the one expanding into the greater numbers, power is then expressed. So our goal then is to do the inner work so that it pictures outwardly in our lives in a way that's making a difference, which then takes us to the next meme by Abraham Hicks. You guys all know Abraham Hicks? An entity that's channeled through two people. Do with that what you want. So, Abe says, little Abe says this: the reason you want every single thing you want in life is because you think you feel really good when you get there. But if you don't feel really good on your way to there, you can't get there. You have to be satisfied with what is while you're reaching for more. What is he telling us there? And I'm assuming Abraham, at his plane of expression, is of a male gender with that name, but who knows? But what he's telling us is that it's not about the experience on the journey. It's about the journey. And it's by being conscious and awake and alert and tentative to our soul on the journey of life, that as we get to the experience, we've already brought our happiness, our joy, our peace, our light, our love there. We're not going there to experience it. Because we've expressed it, the experience reflects it. Does that make sense? It reflects it, which then takes us to the next meme by @hapsters.com, which is this: the best part about life is that every morning you have a new opportunity to become a happier version of yourself. Now, yes, we know that every morning you have an opportunity to become a happier, more fulfilled, more spiritually awake version of yourself, but it's not just in the morning. That's a metaphor. It's a metaphor for meaning that we have that opportunity for us always. Every time we think, every time we act, every time we react. Has anyone ever said anything that you regretted? I might have done that at 8:21 this morning, right, gents? Right? However, we all have the opportunity the minute that we realize what we spoke, stated, expressed, however we chose to do it, that did not reflect us on an awakened journey in our life, is to forgive ourselves and start anew. To start anew. And we can only do that when we're in touch with our divine nature. Now, which brings me to a statement that I heard this morning in meditation. I listened to meditation while walking Sadie in the morning. It was from Deepak Chopra. And he said this, and I rewound it 3 times to listen to it because I think it's a critical moment for us to look at how we're really living our life. And he tells us that our spiritual practice in life should not be to focus on our thoughts. As I have said, that's what we should focus on. He says, but to focus on our awareness of what's going on in life. To focus on our awareness of our thoughts, awareness of our action, awareness of our reactions, awareness of our interactions, awareness of what we think may be going on in our subconscious. It's through that concept of an awareness that we're approaching it from a soulful perspective, in other words, from our divinity, and then from that perspective, we're making it much less personal. Much less personal, but yet that doesn't absolve us of taking responsibility for that which we're choosing to both think, believe, act, interact, and react in life, as well as how we're choosing to be aware of that and how we're choosing to use our ability to choose, which takes us to the next meme, which is this. Integrity is choosing courage over comfort, choosing what is right over what is fun, fast, or easy, and choosing to practice our values rather than simply processing them. Integrity. A year and a half ago, we stood up here and talked about the year of 2017, living a values-based life. And I went through a list of values, and we had an opportunity to look at those from a self-inventory perspective and ask ourselves, what values do I choose to live my life from? And what we're being told here in this meme is that integrity in life, once we've chosen to live a life of personal self-empowerment through spiritual awakening, integrity is to choose courage over comfort. In other words, standing up for your brothers and sisters as that sentinel of light itself over comfort. Choosing what is right sometimes over what is fun, fast, or easy. Anyone ever been confronted with the opposition of those? Right. It's not saying what's right or wrong. It's just choosing what is right over fun, fast, or easy, and then choosing to practice our values than rather simply professing them. Ernest Holmes has a quote that addresses that I use in class over and over and over and over again, and even here, and I know that you've heard it, but I think it's important to hear it again. And in regards to this teaching, this philosophy, and it's this: information without application is hallucination. What he's telling us is that for you and I to be on this journey that we've committed to and made a covenant to in life of living from a place of being empowered personally through spiritual awakening, that cannot happen if we're just babbling about it. It can't happen if we just come to class and come on Sunday and just listen and do nothing about it. Because what matters more than anything is the application of this in your life. Which then leads us to the next meme of you must step back a bit and try to view yourself from a broader perspective. You must see yourself as a being who has lived thousands of lifetimes, physical and non-physical, one who has gained knowledge through all of those life experiences. What we're being told there is if we all truly believe what this philosophy and this teaching and other related metaphysical teachings tell us, then it ain't just about this block of time that we're walking on earth. If we truly, truly, truly are infinite expressions of life, in other words, if we're soul that's being housed in a body and that energy is infinite, meaning has no beginning and no end, that it isn't just about here. It's not excusing or separating ourselves from what's just about here. It's about literally taking a step back, and then 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 a step back, and looking at life from this broad viewpoint of looking at it as if you were a star, not a Hollywood star, right? A star in the sky looking down on earth. And as it looks onto earth itself, it sees the continents and it sees the oceans, and then it focuses in and it sees the United States, and then it sees California, and then it sees Los Angeles, and then it sees West Hollywood, and then it sees the Congregation Cola Me building, and then it sees you sitting in it. And that which you are that's sitting in this seat in this very moment is exactly the same thing as the energy that is looking at it. That which it is observing is the same thing that is the observer. Which then lets you know that yes, this is important what's taking place in this moment. But you don't have to generate any energy for that to happen. The energy's there. And so to look at life from that perspective of then asking yourself, what as the divine can I bring into this experience as I express that divinity that is within me? And as I do that consciously and awake and alert and with peace and joy and light and life and love and wisdom, what difference am I making not on this planet only, but in addition to this planet, but to the lives of those that are walking this planet with me? What am I doing in regards to that? That, ladies and gentlemen, is how we move up the vibrational frequency of life and find ourselves as spiritually awake as we can be. And I assure you that through that process, we are indeed empowered personally, and life gets better. However, one of the things that we need to do in that process is to like our page on Facebook. That's guarding the light of as a sentinel of your spiritual brothers and sisters. It's spreading the word, not just here in this room. It's by following us on Instagram and sharing that. I share that with you today because the world that we live in today is different than the world we lived in 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Doesn't make it better or what's to come better. It's just a truth of the way it works. But what I know for you today, and I know for me, is that each and every time we come together, each and every time we think about who we are as spiritual beings, we drop to our knees, either literally or metaphorically, and say, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to become more and more awakened. Which takes me to the last meme by Jason Hairston, which is this: daily gratitude. I'm thankful for the flow of life. Gratitude is what it's all about, in addition to doing the work. Because if we don't do the work, we don't get to experience the evolution consciously. And as what's his name? Gary Zukav says, evolving consciously is far better than unconsciously. I know that you know that. So today's the day that we get to awaken ourselves to more and more conscious evolution. Thank you. Welcome back, our Jets.
Me. Just to put a little light and laughter in the week. This is it there? It's locked. Oh, shoot. Bear with me a second. It's modern technology that gets me every time. This is a song, it's an old song by James Taylor, and for me personally it had special meaning this week. Well, you can play the game and you can act out the part, though you know it wasn't written for you. But tell me, how can you stand there with your broken heart, ashamed of playing the fool, when one thing can lead to another? It doesn't take any sacrifice. Father and mother, sister and brother, if it feels nice, don't think twice. Just shower the people you love with love. Show them the way that you feel. Things are gonna turn out fine if you only will. Shower the people you love with love. Show them the way that you feel. Things are gonna get much better if you only will. Well, you can run, but you cannot hide. This is widely known. And what you plan to do with your foolish pride when you're all by yourself alone? Once you tell somebody the way that you feel, you can feel things beginning to ease. I think it's true what they say about the squeaky wheel, always getting the grease. So shower the people you love with love. Show them the way that you feel. Things are gonna turn out fine if you only will. Yeah, shower the people you love with love. Show them the way that you feel. Things are gonna turn out better if you only will. Shower the people you love with love. Show them the way that you feel. Things are gonna turn out fine if you only will. Shower the people you love with love. Show them the way that you feel. Things are gonna get much better if you only will. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. You guys realize that's the first time we've had Andy stand up to the microphone and sing? Andy?
Yes.
We like you.
Oh, thank you.
We like you. Everyone just click like. And then your dopamine kicked in. Okay. All right. So now is our opportunity to give financially of your good to the Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles. Sharing your good helps propagate that and awakens you to your spiritual nature. So your opportunities for giving, we have two ushers, I believe, today. If you guys can come forward. You have two opportunities for giving to here at Center for Spiritual Living, both in-house today, and those opportunities are either on the app, in the App Store, which is how I chose to do it last night, and or our website, which is csl-la.org. You can click on Home and then Donate, and that'll give you the opportunity to do that electronically or see Reverend Edward in the back at the welcome table and use a credit card and or cash or check. Or if not in the room, anytime that you feel compelled to propagate your good by giving to CSLA, feel free to send us a check, or we take wire transfers or cash or check and or credit card through the PayPal on this app and the website. Whew, that was a lot. Okay. So take your giving and place it on close to your heart if you feel comfortable doing that, with the heart being the symbol of love. And repeat after me, please. Today I shower the people.
Today I shower the people.
I do that by consciously giving.
I do it by consciously giving.
I trust and know
Trust to know
that this heals.
that this heals.
In so doing,
In so doing,
my awareness is awakened and enlivened.
is awakening your life.
And I know,
And I know
and I know that I know, that I am one with an abundant universe,
one with abundant universe.
and that which I give in life absolutely returns to me
Comes to me,
multiplied abundantly.
multiplied abundantly.
And so it is.
This the gift to be simple, this the gift to be free, this the gift to come down to where you ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, we will be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend, we shouldn't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till by turning we come round right. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend, we shouldn't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till by turning we come round right.
Thank you. Beautiful. Nice duet for that. And I didn't hear the word chant, did I? I didn't hear the word chant this time. Chant. Okay. Did the ushers get everywhere they needed to go? No, there was a little confusion going on, but we got it all? Great. Thank you. Thank you, ushers. Thank you, Jan and Gary. In the vein of thank you, a big thank you to all of you for being here today. A big thank you to our practitioner du jour, Jody Carter. Thank you, Jody. And our silent illuminator, Sherry Bazanis. Set up this morning, we had some challenges and burps, but we got it done. Jesus Ernesto Ruiz. Jesus. Bob Zolitsky, who also set up audio. We have Rolando and Lydia in the back that's working here with us today. And our musicians, Yaron, Andy, and Doug Rapetti. Big thank you.
Thanks.
So big thank you to you guys.
Thank you, Reverend Dr. Keith Cox.
You're welcome. You're welcome. My pleasure. So some announcements. So our Wednesday morning guided meditation continues. So we'd love to have as many of you as possible come and join us. It's a great experience online. You don't have to You can be attired in whatever manner you want, I'll put it that way, because no one's going to see you online. The dance class on Friday mornings continues. I will be back this Friday. I hear it was full and happening last Friday, so come check it out. It's the Hollywood Dance Center in the 700 block of Highland, and it's 11:30 till basically 1 on Fridays. It's about $15. It is $15, so come and check it out. Both of those of that information is on our website and on our app if you need links, as well as our weekly e-newsletter. If you're not receiving that, please see Edward in the back, and there's a form you can complete to get that. Also want to remind you, we have a promo for social media that's out there. You'll see it on our CSL Facebook page, as well as our Instagram account. If you would like, and it's also on our weekly email, please take that, and if you'd like to watch it and then send it out to all of your friends and family, we'd love to have you do that to broaden our demographic. There's a new class that is beginning on May 9th. It's a 4-week class, and it's called this: Prayer. How, why, what, when. And the concept is creating a shift in one's life. This 4-week class, we will take a look at how to speak spiritual truth in a way that has an impact on your mindset, how to consciously use the spiritual laws of life to our benefit, ultimately creating a shift in life. You'll receive tools, tips, training, and more. That's 7:15 to 9:15 for 4 Wednesday nights starting May 9th. And that's it. All right. Yeah, thank you for a good Sunday. So let's close it out with a spiritual mind treatment. I invite you to close your eyes. There are floured goods in the back for you to chew with. It's got some fillings and some confectioner sugar on top if you're into that. It's also tea, coffee, and water. And there's each other to share love with, to look into each other's eyes and see the divine. We close with a spiritual mind treatment, an affirmative prayer, a declaration that we're each awake in this moment. We're each alert in this moment. And we're each alive in this moment. I know for each of us, we're deeply grateful for the flow of life that expresses itself through us. For it's our soul that is engaged and awakened and expressed. We have deep gratitude that our body is here and that we get to use it. And so we use it and address it and play with it and effectively take care of it as a sanctuary, as a temple of that which gives us the ability to express the soul that we are. And so I know for each and every one of us that we covenant together in this very moment, that as we go forward in life, step by step by step by step, that we do so stepping further and further and further back to gain a new viewpoint and perspective of light. As a star itself, a celestial being, if you will. And it's from this viewpoint that we awaken ourselves to not only just be a sentinel, but to act as the sentinel that we are of the light of life that exists within all sentient beings. And so today is the day that we choose to express care, compassion, forgiveness, and equanimity. We trust with every fiber of our being the faith of God, as Ernest Holmes says, that the laws of life bring forth through us that which we are awake to. And so we awaken in this moment to the oneness of life itself and our ability to impact it through that which we are aware of. And so we are aware of our divinity. And we let it be by saying together. And so it is. Thank you. Have a great Sunday. Hope to see some of you